Hi there, friends. It's Ben again. This is the math tech class, and I'm making a video here of kind of helping you through getting the assignment for day 10 done. The thing we're going to look at today is generating some basic graphs. When I say basic, I do not mean easy. What I mean by the word basic in that context is that this is just something that you do a lot in any sort of writing, is to produce some sort of charts and graphs that give people an easy visual comparison for, whatever you happen to be looking at. Okay. Now, in doing this, I actually just went online and Googled, hey, what are some good charts and graphs to do in Colab that are pretty easy to do? And they turned up 50 of them, and not all of them were easy. And in fact, some of their code didn't work. And so I spent some time making sure that what I gave you did work. Okay. So here we go with taking a look at it. All right. So the basic three kind of plots that I feel like you really need to be able to do are bar charts and pie charts and box plots. Okay. Other things, we've done scatter plots. Okay. And if you look at the things we already talked about there's some variations on these that get done quite a bit. For bar charts, there's a variation called a histogram. And you have to do a little bit of your independent research if you want to figure out how to do that. That might be a good thing to have as a project to do, figure out how to do histograms and do some examples. But like I say, a histogram is basically a special kind of bar chart. All this stuff is automated, so it's not hard to do. You just have to figure out the pieces. Another kind of pie chart is referred to as a donut chart, and that sounds goofy that a donut is a special kind of pie. But donut charts are what they sound like they are. They are just pie. They're just like a pie chart, except you've got a hole in the center. That's it. But you see them represented quite a bit. Okay. There's a special kind of scatter plot that's referred to as a bubble plot, and it's actually really pretty neat because you can take with your scatter plots and tell it to color the dots that you've got depending on what category the dots fall into. And this would be something that you maybe work with on the data frames on pandas or seaborn or something. But in any case, you can have the scatter plot, then have different colors for the different dots. And then depending on some other value, like the number of times a dot appears or something, you can then have the dots get bigger. And that's what they mean by a bubble plot, is they expand like a bubble, and then they can have these colors. And you can have like 5 or 6 different numbers kind of represented by your colors and your size and your position and everything. It's pretty cool. Okay. But again, you'll have to do a little bit of research on that. Again, figuring out how to do a bubble plot be a pretty decent little thing to talk about for a project. So, and then, yeah, I was going to say something about box plots. And I don't know really anything now offhand with box plots. I can say that you can sometimes have your box plots laid onto something three-dimensional off to the side, but again, I don't know a real good application where that would be interesting. So, all right, we are going to jump to the Colab, assuming I can remember how to do that. And that looks like this. Yay! All right. So I'm not going to read the text to you, but I am going to run down through here and say this first big block of stuff here is setting up a bunch of things that we're going to do in this. Okay. And I think it would be a good idea for you to read through all of the comments that I've littered it with so that you can try to connect and figure out why each of these things is appearing. So I'm going to, click in here, just anywhere. I'm going to hit Command Enter to evaluate that. If you notice, it just went bang and evaluated it, and it didn't print anything or make any pictures. And that's because all I was doing in this was loading data and getting packages going and so forth. Down at the very bottom there, you should see that it has imported some data into a variable it referred to as df underscore raw. So df, I guess, would stand for data file. And I went ahead and put a little piece, a little chunk of code here to have us print that out and look at it. So the data that we're talking about here is a bunch of information about car stuff. And it's got manufacturers, Audi and Volkswagen, and there's a bunch of stuff in between. But notice that, like the other data frame we looked at, the COVID data, we've got these heads of the columns telling us what the information is: manufacturer, model, displacement, year, cylinder, transmission, drive. By drive, it means like front wheel drive, all wheel drive, that sort of thing. City miles per gallon, highway miles per gallon, and FL. I do not know what FL stands for. If you do, let me know. But all the ones that they have here has the same thing. Maybe the P, I'll bet, stands for passenger, but yeah, I don't know. And then the last part is class, like compact car, mid-sized car, pickup, minivan, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we've loaded a bunch of information in like that, and then we're going to do things with it. So the first thing we will do, wait a minute, what? The first thing we'll do is box plots. That's not right. That was supposed to say that the first thing we would do is bar charts. Man, I can't believe I did that, but I fixed it right there, okay? So this is a bunch of code showing you how to do something. Oh my goodness. But we're gonna go ahead and hit that Command Enter in order to evaluate it. And you see that it has plotted across here with the different manufacturers, the number of different models of car it had, okay? And so we're going to go down here and I'm going to real quick show you that the things DF manufacturer just is a list of manufacturers. And then we created a variable called counts for it, DF counts, that just counts the number of things there. And if you see that, and then we go back up into the code, you can see that we were telling it to make a bar chart. And that bar chart, the first entry thing was the manufacturer. And so that's going to be your like x-axis stuff. And the second entry was counts, and that's going to be the values that tell you how high this goes. The color equals C is just telling it what color to make the bars. And this width equals 0.5. It can be a number varying between 0 and 1. Having it be either 0 or 1 makes it look kind of chunky. Yeah, makes it look less good. I don't have a real great explanation for that, but there's also options in there for what angle to set the labels down below on and all kinds of stuff like that, okay? But what you're gonna do down here, your problem number 1, is to copy the cell that produced the bar chart and modify it instead of doing the manufacturer to do the class. So, like minivan and stuff like that. All right, so what you will need to do for that is to go back up here to that code, click anywhere in it. If you hit Command A, it will highlight everything in there, and Command C to copy. and then you go back to the place that it wanted you to copy it to, make a new line, and hit Command V, and that pasted it in there. Now, if we hit Command Enter, it just reproduces exactly the same thing, right? So what we're supposed to do is to modify it so that it's looking at the class. And I probably should have made that where it says the class so that it stood out a little bit more. So I'm gonna make it kind of look chunkier in the printout. And does that help? Yeah, a little bit, okay. So literally, this gets pretty easy. See where it says manufacturer? When I double clicked it, it highlighted every place that the word manufacturer appears in that cell. So keep your eye on those because I want those to all say class. Notice I went ahead and capitalized that last one there, all right? And all I'm gonna do is hit Command Enter and it redoes it. Oh no, can you see? It doesn't look very good because my cap on this went up to 45 and there was one that went all the way up to 47 and another one that went up to 62. You know what? That 45 that's a cap, I probably don't want it to be a 45. So I have to look for where the 45 appeared. Right here. So instead of 45, since I got something that goes up to 63, I'll make it 65. Bang. Generates it back in there. And now it all looks good. Okay. You know what? I'm looking here and this did something with a float of values. And I don't know. I would like to see if it said integer of values. Oh yeah, that looks better to me. What do you think? Because saying 47.0, you're not going to have a half a model. If any of y'all are into classic cars, you could make a joke about the original Mustang. It was put out in the year 1964, but it was halfway through the model year, so it was the 64 and a half. So it was a half model, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not funny, I know. All right, but that's what I'm looking for you to do. Okay. And then the next bit here, you're going to be doing a pie chart. All right. And I probably should have labeled that better. I will go through and make the labels look a little bit better before I actually give this to you. But for this code that's doing the pie chart, well, you can see what the pie chart looks like, right? And now let's zoom in and see what the code was. This time we said for our DF, the data file, that we were going to group it by the class. And we had to take the size of the class, right? And then our DF plot, that seems a little weird to me, saying DF plot here, because everything else would say plt.plot, but apparently data frames have a built-in pie chart, and you just have to say to do a DF plot, the kind is pi. I don't know if there's maybe a built-in DF plot kind equals bar or something, but it could be. And here is a little tricky bit. Remember when we did stuff with the pie charts in Excel, and we had difficulty putting the percentage onto it? Well, for this, there's an option, auto percent, that then has the tick marks, percent 1.1. So that shows it the format that it's a number dot and then a number. And then the F for floating point, and the percent, I think just tells it that there's going to be a percent at the end of it. okay? But that gets that pie chart and it looks fairly good, you know? All right, then the thing that we're asked to do, copy the code to the cell below before and modify it so you get a, oh my God, I totally forgot. I didn't even finish the sentence, man. Okay, so you get a pie chart for the, I started to say manufacturer, but let me run back up here and see what are our other options. I could do it by the models. No, there's even more models than there are manufacturers. Could do it by the years or the number of cylinders. Yeah, I wonder what that would look like. Let's see on that. So we're going to go back to where we were at and pie chart for the number of cylinders for vehicles. All right. So we see that we need to put the code in there. So we will go back up here, Command A to highlight it, Command C to copy it, come down here at the end, Command V to paste it, right? And if you hit enter right now, it will just go back and create the exact same thing, right? So we're going to try CYL. I think that was what it was abbreviated for. And pie chart of vehicle cylinders, all right? And I think that gets it. And wow, okay. So this has something on it that my mind is blown. Look here. There apparently are 5-cylinder cars. If you know anything about engines, it's pretty rare to hear anything that's an odd number. I know that on a scooter, you have a 1-cylinder engine, and on a truly horrible vehicle from the 80s called the Yugo, you had 3 cylinders, but I've never heard of a 5-cylinder car. Anyway, though, see, it's got the percentages and everything. It just did it for you, right? That's pretty cool. Yeah, so from there, then we're going to take a quick look at doing a box plot, okay? So here is the code doing a box plot. I clicked in there, I hit Command Enter, and now it did the vehicles by their class: compact, midsize, SUV, 2-seater, minivan, pickup, and subcompact, okay? And what it's doing is going through and taking their highway miles and just doing a count there and seeing where things are. So if you look at the subcompact cars, the miles per gallon on them, their very lowest ones, somewhere in the low 20 mile per gallons. And on the upper end, 36-ish, you know? But they're all pretty consistently in that sort of range. And then for pickups, as you might expect, the miles per gallon on those generally is going to land between 16 and 21, I think. The dot that you can see out past the end means that you've got a pickup that was giving you like 12 or 13 miles per gallon, and then one pickup that was giving you like 23, I'm going to say it is. But those are what's referred to as outliers. And that one of the uses for box plots is to be able to spot outliers. So that's actually pretty neat. All right, so I'm going to shrink that back down. Okay, maybe I'm not. I'm going to, okay, maybe it wasn't to expand it out. All right. But our problem 3 says that you're going to take that code and modify it. And how are we going to modify it? So we're going to break them up by manufacturer instead. I shouldn't have double clicked there. So click outside of it. Break them up by manufacturer. And instead of showing the highway miles, we're going to have it show the city miles per gallon. Okay. So let's go up there and get that code and do that. Now, if you take a look, that code is not very complicated looking, right? So we have to remember we're going to break it up by, what is a manufacturer? So instead of class, I'm going to say manufacturer. And instead of highway, I'm going to say CTY for city. And so it's a box plot of city mileage by vehicle manufacturer. Okay. Command enter, let it run. And when you take a look at it, do you see why it's clunky? Down here at the bottom, this part here is just not very readable because words are running over each other and stuff like that. Additionally, the top of the box doesn't really need to go up to 40. It looks, well, yeah, we'll leave it at 40. But the bottom needs to go down a little bit lower, right? So we're going to look in our code here. And first thing is here in this figure size, it was 13 wide and 10 high. So I'm going to go in there and change that to like 20, okay? And then I'm going to hit Command Enter to see what it looks like, because maybe that's not big enough. But it looks like, yeah, I'd say it looks like everything. You can read the different things. So yeah, I'll go ahead and leave it at that 20. But then the top and bottom still don't look good. So I'm going to make it go down to 5. Let's see whether I can make it go 5 to 35. See if that would look good for the tops and bottoms. That doesn't really look very good. So having this go down to 5, doesn't look great. I think I'm going to go back and change it to 40. And now you'll have a little bit of it peeking at the top and bottom. Yeah. But anyway, though, doesn't look super great, but it looks all right. Okay. One of the things I really want you to make sure that you spotted there, though, was that as I did that, I experimented around with it. I changed some numbers and I ran it again. If I'd gotten an error from changing numbers or changing something, then I would have to figure out what caused the error and probably, change it back to what it was before and then change it a little bit differently. Math is not an experimental science. Computer programming is. So, all right, well, when you get done with all of that, I need you to make sure that you do 2 things here. And just sharing screen to remind you about this. All right, so here you need to go to the day 10 generating plots of the data from Colab, hit your start assignment, go to your Google Drive. Remember, you will have named this appropriately, okay? And you'll find where stuff is there, and you'll upload it. And then once you're done, you will go to the day 10 progress Colab graphing thing, and you are going to type in here answering those questions, saying what you had trouble with, what you got figured out, and stuff like that. Okay. Don't fill this out if you didn't upload stuff. Okay. So yeah, that's something that might have come up a couple times, and I might have kind of worried about it. So anyway, though, get those 2 things uploaded and you're done for the day. I expect that this will be quick, but I really hope that y'all hung around in class so you could ask questions if something went wrong. because if you don't, you end up being on your own trying to do work after hours. So, all right, I'll see you all in class. Hope you're having a good evening.